again. Welcome to our second module of the semester. During this module, we're going to focus on writing studies. You might be thinking, what's the difference between writing studies and rhetorical studies? Especially since so much of rhetorical studies involves the study of written techniques. You're right to see the overlaps. In fact, some folks use rhetorical studies and writing studies interchangeably. For me, rhetorical studies is grounded in persuasion. Writing studies, though, is a little different because it's interested in the production, consumption, and circulation of writing. Writing studies also emphasizes writing across specific contexts. This emphasis on production means you'll come across pieces that reflect on the writing process, whether it's something like the mechanics of writing with a pencil or the impact of using an application like Google Draftback. Emphasis on consumption means writing studies is also interested in the way we read and consume pieces of writing. Emphasis on circulation means an interest in a piece's publication process or how we share writing with each other, or even how writing travels through time. For me, this writing studies module is about reading pieces of scholarship that get at the following questions. First, how is writing understood, produced, and consumed in a classroom setting? Here, scholars might talk about grading, language, the history of English departments, the difference between speech and written text. The second question, how do our different contexts influence how and what we write? Here, scholars might talk about the different spaces we write in and the different spaces we write from. For example, we write within a colonial institution, within a prison. We write from the perspective of an outsider. 3, what does English composition have to do with writing studies? Here, scholars will start to consider the role of English composition in a college curriculum. We'll keep thinking about this question in our next module. As a field, just like rhetorical studies, writing studies does not have a linear history. Some pieces are written during a time when English departments were seen as the pinnacle of greatness because to be a skillful writer was to be a successful and good person. Some pieces are written during a time when the notion of inclusion disturbed some instructors because they were hell-bent on protecting this idea of standard American English. Again, similar to rhetorical studies, writing studies also has histories of erasing certain voices. And so you'll find pieces during this module that talk back to these erasures, some with patience and others with frustration. As you read and discuss writing studies on your own, with your group, I hope you'll consider your own relationship to this field. I also hope you'll consider how these different pieces might circulate in different communities that you are a part of. For instance, Dr. Craig's piece on hip hop and citations was really transformative for me as an educator because it shifted how I talk about citations and plagiarism in a composition classroom. I also wonder how useful this piece might be in challenging music listeners who think of rappers like Machine Gun Kelly and Migos as the originators of hip-hop. I want you to ask yourself also, how do the pieces you've read shift your understanding of writing, language, the classroom? Also, what other communities might these pieces travel to, and for what purpose? During this module, you're performing the same tasks as before. You'll work with your reading group in identifying which 3 to 4 pieces you'll read. After discussing the pieces, you'll submit a reading group statement that will illustrate your conversations around a specific concept or several concepts. On your own, you'll summarize one of the articles in a 1 to 3 minute video. And learning from the last module, I probably will compile these videos as a document or maybe an audio, depending on the submissions that I receive. And then finally, for your larger writing assignment, you're going to complete a 3 to 5 page proposal. For this proposal, you're going to select a community and draft a project that engages with this community. This project needs to intersect with an idea or a concept mentioned in any of the articles presented during this module. You'll want to explore how and why your project will impact your selected community. And an example I'll share, I'm sure I will share more examples as we get closer and closer to the due date of this assignment. The example I'll share now is a proposal for a multilingual fan fiction workshop in a middle school in Queens. I would explain in this proposal why this workshop is needed. I will explain how it will impact its participants. I would most importantly explain the connection this project has to the article that I read by Dr. Craig about hip hop and sampling. Within this proposal, I might also include descriptions of the different workshop meetings, and I might also include a sample flyer. Again, this is just an example of how you might approach the larger writing assignment. During this module, I hope you'll take time to reflect on your own writing process and any connections you see between writing studies as a field and your own development as a writer. Until the next time, take care.